Hello FlossTube and welcome back to Grandma's World. I'm Debi and I am loving this Mania business. How much fun has this been? And I'm learning a lot about myself and how I work between the COVID isolation and Mania. I'm realizing that I had gotten into the habit of getting into my car every day for some kind of critical errand that developed into several hours worth of, well, as long as I'm out, I might as well check on this, or as long as I'm out, I might as well go pick up this. And I was wasting a lot of time where I could have been productive here at home, just tooling around by habit. It was just a habit. And so I'm kind of determined. I have one day a week where I have a weekly chiropractor appointment. And I'm going to pack everything into that day so that I'm only going out and starting up my car and running multiple errands in one day. And that's going to leave me 3 days at home to work on my stuff, get my stuff done. And that's what's been happening with Mania. I have this schedule. It has not worked out very well, but I do have a schedule. I do have a little tag on something that says you're going to work on this on Tuesday. And I did work on it on Tuesday and felt very productive. So yeah, I'm getting a lot out of this process. I'm really enjoying it. The days don't always go the way I'd planned. I did plan to do all my errands on Wednesday this week. And walked out to go to the first place to run the first errand, got in my car, and it was flat dead. And I ended up spending time calling dealership, and they gave me advice on how to deal with the fact that the car wouldn't start. And this is just me and how I manifest things. I've been paying off the car. It was a 5-year loan, and I was in the last year of the loan. Getting closer each month to paying it off. And about the 6 months before I paid it off, I was lecturing myself on a regular basis that what I should do is take that first 2 months missed payment, where I wasn't going to have to pay any more, and apply it toward making sure that my car was in really good shape, taking it to the dealership and letting them run all their tests, and just make sure, you know, as I start out life with a car that doesn't have a loan on it, just make sure that the car is where it's supposed to be. And I hadn't set that up yet. I've had my 2 months now with no payment. That's what I said it was going to be. That's how much I was going to dump into it. And sure enough, went out there and had a dead car. It wasn't going anywhere. I've had lots of little reminders for the last 2 months. Oh yeah, I was going to do that. Oh yeah, I was going to do that. I don't want to end up broken down alongside of the road like that woman just did. I just never did it. I just never did it. So now you better do it, in a position where it just had to happen. So I called and found that there's a brand new dealership. One of my errands was to go to Costco. And there's a brand new dealership walking distance from the Costco I go to, a brand new Mazda dealership. Oh, we just opened. I'm like, yay. My original dealership was awesome. It was like a party. It was owned by one of the Angels pitchers, CJ Wilson. And it was so much fun to go there. They just really showed you a good time at CJ Wilson and did good work on my car. So then they closed down. And so it's been about a year, and now this dealership has just opened up in the same town, even closer to me than that one was. And it wasn't party, it didn't feel like a party, but it was more than comfortable. They were more than accommodating and helpful. And I ended up getting all the little things done. The warning light that tells you that your air pressure's low, I heated it. I took the car in to have the tire checked. I had a big nail in the tire. They repaired the tire, but the light didn't go off. That kind of thing that kind of just niggles at you. You know, I knew what it was for. they couldn't reset it. I had to take it to the dealership for that. And I have orange trees in my yard, which attract rats. The rats get into the engine compartment of the car to eat their goodies and end up chewing on things. And they chewed through my windshield washer fluid line so that my washer wouldn't work. And over the time, that's probably been 2 or 3 years, and over that time, there have been a number of moments where I really needed that to work for me and got into uncomfortable situations because I couldn't get my windshield cleaned fast enough. So I wanted that repaired. 65,000 miles. I wanted them to check the transmission. It seemed a little sluggish to me. I wanted them to be sure to look at my brakes. You know, just I want to make sure it's safe to drive around in. So in the course of getting my dead car restarted, I ended up with a brand new battery from AAA. Got it started, and the Mazda dealership that I talked to for advice on how to handle it had already booked me a 2-hour segment of time to get my car checked out. And of course they found something else wrong that was actually rather scary. And so I had them fix that as well. So I was there all day. I had remembered to take my little bag of cross stitch with me, and I did use their loaner to go to Costco and get my shopping done. And everything just worked out. Everything always works out for me, and anyway, and I knew it would, so I wasn't really freaked out about it. But yeah, that was part of my adventure, part of my Mania adventure, and it will, I hope, make sense when I tell you what my Mania progress this week has been about. But part of the issue is that I spent a whole day Wednesday dealing with my car. And they even washed it for me at the end. Mazda does that. They send you out with a nice clean car. So that's my adventure for the week, was dealing with my car. And so I'm going to kind of do a combine. I want to do a Mania report because, like I said, I've had so much fun with this. But it's also just a FlossTube report. So I'll get back into what appears to be the cultural schedule for FlossTube. First of all, finishes. I did finish something. Holy mackerel, I haven't finished anything in years. The Be Well and Stitch, I don't know what to call it. It's a collaboration. It's not really a collaboration. It's a collection. It's definitely a collection. It definitely involves community. I'm going to call it the Be Well and Stitch community phenomenon. So much generosity out there among FlossTube designers. And so the one that spoke to me was the Blue Flowers, Let Joy Be Unconfined. And I finished it. I think I'm going to actually frame it for my sewing room. But there it is. I obviously did not use the called for fabric or the called for colors. But I went and I did kind of a Marie Kondo thing and went through my fabric stash and my flosses and chose everything that made me feel joey in the moment. So there we are. I would love this to be my Facebook. Let's do this, because that can be my thumbnail now. Love it, just love it. So grateful that you designed that for us. So that's my finish, and I'm happy with it. Whips are my Mania projects. I didn't work on anything else. So when I get to my Mania report, you'll see my works in progress. I did have some haul. Am I the only one that's compulsively shopping on Etsy and 1-2-3-Stitch and anywhere else I can find to deal with being kind of locked up here by myself most of the time? But that's okay. I really am happy. I feel like I'm set now for a decade on cross-stitch stuff, like I wasn't already. The big thing that I got, though, was a frame. This is my 4th frame that I've ordered in the last probably 6 months to try to deal with the fact that I have back issues. And it's just really hard for me. Back issues and arthritis. I now have arthritis apparently in my wrists, as well as these 2 fingers. and here and there throughout the rest of my body. I can control it really pretty well when I am not eating sugar and grains. Once I start eating those, it all flares back up again, and then I get off of it, and then it all kind of calms down. And we're in calm down mode right now. I'm not gorging on, well, chocolate season's over. What can I say? Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter, that's chocolate season, and it's done. So it's not in my face all the time. And I prefer my chocolate in a cookie or a brownie. So the flour is gone too. At any rate, this joint is, and on this arm too, although it's worse on my right, to hold a frame and to be doing this is really irritating, the arthritis in these joints. So I wanted a frame that was actually going to work well for me. And this is, like I said, this is the fourth. I bought a small, inexpensive one that was fine, but it wouldn't accommodate a Q-snap. And then I went and bought the R&R lap frames, a big one, and that's the permanent home for my Firefly Fairies piece that I've been working on for years. It's living on that one now. And then the 11-inch one to work with some of this Mania stuff. And it's okay, but it wasn't perfect. And so I ended up going online and watching some FlossTube stitchers and seeing what they used, and I ended up buying this one. And let me look, because I don't know what I did with the paperwork on this. So I will vow to go dig through all my receipts and everything and the instructions and all that to see where I bought this from. But I'm sure you'll recognize it if you have it, and you can, you know, educate me if you want to in the comments. But it's working out really well. I like it a lot. It sits on my lap. I can get my back in a position in a recliner to where I'm really comfortable and just kind of stitch away. I don't really like using this big of a Q-snap frame. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to use something smaller because this motion, the frame gets in the way, especially with my arthritis. I can't be fighting the frame. So that was my biggest purchase, and I think it's going to hold me now permanently. I also have been trying to buy fabric, partly for Mania designs, and then partly just what happens is I get into a site and to buy one fabric and end up ordering 4, which is what happened actually with this one. I might as well tell this story now. Okay, let me start here. This is Kathy Haberman, Wild Salt Air. I fell in love with this chart. And then I kept looking through her site and saw this one, Good Ship Sampler, which has a companion piece here that I love. I love all of it. All 3 of these pieces, I love them. So I decided that this one especially, I think this color combination that she's put together on this is just stunning, and I wanted to do it exactly like this as I could. So it starts with a fabric called Friendship Green by Fabrics by Stephanie, and I went to Fabrics by Stephanie's website and I ordered the Friendship Green, and then I browsed, and boy, does she make beautiful fabrics. I ended up buying 4. You use for her, and she actually has a little note on here. She says, I hope that you will give Romy's creations a try. Those are the ones she used on this. I'm glad I got the opportunity to design with them. I have supplied DMC and other hand-dyed substitutions below. You'll get a slightly different look to your finished piece, but I took care to see that they were the closest match. And Kathy does such great work. I trusted that, but I also wanted it to be as close to what she had designed as I could get it. So I did go online and order the Romy's Creations that I could get. So that's these. And then what I want to do is do Wild Salt Air on the same fabric and try to work in some of the same colors from the Romy's collections. So that these 3 pieces, the good ships, all the flosses, or I went through my stash and I had most of the flosses for this one, that if I can sub in some of these Romy's Creations so that all 3 pieces will match, that will make me really happy. So that's the beginning of my my fabric adventure here, but that's how it works. I went to Fabrics by Stephanie to get Friendship Green, found 3 others that really excited me, so I ordered those as well. I've ordered fabric from, since I started FlossTube and started getting recommendations from all of you, I've ordered fabric from 123Stitch and Stitchery X-Press, and I tend to get those the fastest because they have, I guess they just have stuff in stock. I ordered from Fabric Flair, and it was fine. In fact, one of the Stitchery Express fabrics, 2 of them that I ordered from them, are actually Fabric Flair fabrics that they make for Stitchery Express. So that, you know, I have no complaints about Fabric Flair. In fact, I have no complaints about any of them. I ordered from Bestitch Me last week, and it's been way too soon to expect that fabric. And then Fabrics by Stephanie, I had not received the Friendship Green, but it hasn't been that long since I ordered, so I wasn't concerned about that. But last week on Thursday, yeah, I came home from my mom's and there was a message on my phone from an unknown number, and I don't usually pay much attention to numbers without ID, just because I get so many robocalls, and I ignored it. It came in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday I was busy. Monday, I want to say Monday or Tuesday, I saw it there again and was reminded of it and said, you know, something was just telling me, you better at least listen to the voicemail this person's left here for you. So I did, and it was Stephanie calling about my order. And I got to tell you, I am so fascinated now by the chemistry of these fabric dyeing, this fabric dyeing procedure. Because what she told me, she has my Friendship Green, which makes me very happy. I kind of got goosebumps when I realized that it was going to be here eventually. In fact, she said maybe the end of next week or the beginning of the week after that, she'd be able to send that out. So yeah, in fact, my whole order out. But 2 of the 4 fabrics that I had ordered, she couldn't dye anymore because the company that mined the mineral that made them that color in her formula for those fabrics is not being mined anymore. And she said it eliminated 20 colors from her offerings as a business. And so she was kind of having to scramble and make all these calls, like the one to me. She just wanted to make some suggestions of substitutions before she filled my order. And, you know, I just took her advice. You know, I don't know her collection well at all. So I let her recommend and just accepted those, of course. So they'll be in, but that it never occurred to me. That's, you know, how little thought I gave to it. I just took for granted these beautiful things for granted. That yeah, these dyers have formulas. That's how they get the consistency that they do, and it's how it's just how the process works. And so if that mining company has stopped mining that mineral, then you have no way to get it. So that was really kind of interesting. And I'm still waiting on the Picture This Plus fabric that I ordered in February. But I understand, someone was telling me, and I think I've already mentioned this on this channel, that things that would usually, so let me just start with this. When I put a piece of mail in my mailbox, like say I want to pay my rubbish payment, I put it in the mailbox. It's actually going about 6 blocks, maybe a mile, maybe 2, to City Hall, where they process the rubbish payment. But the way the system works, my postal carrier picks it up, takes it, sorts it, and it goes in a bag to the neighboring town where they have a bigger distribution center. And it's sorted, it's actually sorted there. And then it comes back to my town where the postman, my postal carrier, sorts for his route again. So, you know what, certainly I can walk it in just 15 minutes if I want to. But if I want to mail it, it's going to be a 2 or 3 day turnaround before it actually gets the same distance. Well, in certain parts of the country, some of that I'm doing in the little town next to me happens in a big city like New York City, which is locked down now. And so the post office has been valiantly trying to reroute mail away from these big urban center distribution centers, or distribution facilities, so that they don't get stuck there. And so that's slowing the whole travel process down. And I understand that. I'm not giving up on Picture This Plus. Although I did go to 123 Stitch, which has had a very fast turnaround for me for weeks. And they had one of the Picture This Plus fabrics I wanted in stock. So I went ahead and ordered it from them. It's not going to be here by next week, which is when that project is scheduled for Mania, but I've had to move that schedule around this week already a couple of times. So nothing's cast in stone, right? Another thing that I bought and had delivered this week was this. I swore I would never do one of these. I'm watching FlossTube people that I'm following. They're doing the Rosewood Manor pieces, and I'm like, oh, all that stuff around the edges would drive me insane, and they're loving it, and I'm going, yeah, no, not me. Not going to happen. And then I saw this one. It's called Harmony, and it is a Victorian motto sampler piece. Someone finished it in one of the floss tubes that I follow, and I'm a bird nut, and I said, oh, baited that hook, and they've got me now. So I ordered it, and it came in. I know exactly what I want to do with it, and for it to do that for me, I don't want it in these colors. I don't want the called for colors or even the called for fabric. So I've been digging through Stash. What I want is variegated pinks for the whole thing, and I've already ordered a couple of pinks from Mrs. Sedas to give them a try to see if they'll work where I want to use it. And I want them on a soft green background. And I had this piece already from a purchase a few years ago at Shepherd's Bush. And I may go for this one. Although I'd really rather find kind of the same softness in a green, but in a solid color. But that may not work out, and that's okay. But like I said, same experience with Mrs. Sedas. I wanted a variegated pink for this. I went to her site as soon as she put her flosses back up again, which I think was this morning, and ordered like 8 or 9 of them because they're really beautiful. I've never worked with silk before, but y'all are raving about it, so I'm kind of trusting that it will work out okay. The last thing that I got in, and I immediately had to sit down and write a thank you email to Stitchery X-Press, that would be Cindy. I have purchased 4 different pieces of fabric to do primitive stitchers. Did I print this in color? I did not. A Mother of the Ocean. And I just can't find the right fabric. It doesn't look the same on my computer as it does when it comes in. I don't know if it's a photography thing. I suspect it's a monitor setting. I guess my RBG settings are not what the person who took the picture to post it on their computer maybe has different RBG settings than my computer has. I've never messed with them, but I know that that issue could exist. But I kept ordering things that would come in and they just weren't quite, they just weren't what I wanted for that piece. I want, and I wish I'd done it in color. On this, it's kind of a yellowed, it's called, it looks like a piece of parchment to me. And I really like what look like watermarks and all of that in there. And it's yellow. It's not yellow. It's a big, I don't even know what to call it. Almost like you had, I don't know what to call it. It's not yellow, but the whatever color it is, maybe it's an ecru or maybe it's an ivory with a touch, but it's darker than that. It's a very light brown verging on ecru. I don't know what to call it, but it's got those brown pieces in it as if it's been water stained, and it had kind of a yellowish tint to it. I did buy a piece of fabric that was, do I have that in here? It was close. These are the fabrics. These are two of them anyway. I bought this one. It's not quite the right color, but it was close. What is this? Picture this plus dill. And then, but it doesn't have the watermarks in it. And then I bought this one. Who did this one? Does it say? No, I don't remember. It has the kind of the watermarks in it, but it doesn't have that yellowish cast. So, you know, I still kept working. There's a fourth one that I used for something else. Again, they just weren't quite right. And then it occurred to me, in the Embroidery Express, that's what they're called, right? Stitchery Express? Yeah, Stitchery Express. I loved the two fabrics that I bought from them, and I got them fairly quickly. So I decided to try one more time, and I went to Stitchery Express and I searched the word parchment. And this is what came up. And this is my fabric that I'm going to use. Look at those, what look like water stains. And the color is just a little darker than I'm seeing on my camera screen. And it has, depending on the light, right now in the kitchen under my, so my kitchen light is the backlight in the window and a overhead fan here. That's why it's inconsistent. And then right over there is a big skylight. And then there are big skylights over there. So it's stuff I can't really control here, but this is the best place I have to do this right now. Right now it's perfect. If I take it into another room, there's a little bit of a green tinge to it. But right now it's perfect. I love it. So this was another part of the haul for this week, was this parchment. And I'm so grateful because now one of my favorite Mania pieces I'm actually going to get to start on schedule because they got it here so fast and it's just perfect. All right. That's part of next week's. That's not here yet. On that side. Okay. Did I cover everything? Yes, so now we're up to my Mania report. Oh no, there's one more thing. I was, Anna at Stitch Roadie decided to try a magazine service called Readly. And I was so intrigued with that I went and looked at it because I really love magazines, all different kinds of magazines. And they carry on Readly the British cross-stitch magazines that I love. World of Cross Stitch, Cross Stitch Crazy is my favorite. I think they're up to World of Cross Stitch. Did I say that already? They also have Just Cross Stitch and a lot of the specials like the Christmas magazines or 365 projects. They had some of those. And they've added another one. I can't remember what it is, but as of last night, there was another one on the list, and I didn't check it out. I did go looking through, though, the Just Cross Stitch patterns, and when I saw this one, I was in bed going through it on my iPad. I had to get out of bed, turn on my printer, and go print this off because it was love at first sight. It's from Just Cross Stitch, October 2019, so just last year. And let's see if I can get her to focus. So darling, little ghosty. So that's going to get shoved in here somewhere with Mania, because it's just, it just took me, just got me. So I consider that part of haul. All right, Mania report. Day 1. This is my to-go bag, and I think this project is going to just live in this bag and live in my car so that it's always there. I don't ever have to remember to go get it. I'm doing Brooke's Books. It's one of the Bride's Tree series. It reminded me of a May basket. So I did it for May Day. And am not using it. Calls for needlepoint silks, I believe. No, crescent colors. Belle Soie silk, and I am intimidated by silk, so I decided to just use the DMC. And I think I'm going to actually switch and start going through my overdyes and see if I have colors a little bit closer to her silks. But that's as far as I've gotten between the time I put in for Mania and Wednesday at the car dealership. And it's, like I said, it's just going to live in here. The plan for me for Mania was to start the project. I usually wait until afternoon to see if any haul comes in. And mostly because I do my gardening in the morning when it's cool. And so I go out and I put 2 or 3 hours in the garden, then I come in and take a shower if I need to, and then I pull out my Mania for that day. So this was the first day. Now there's another one in there for later in Mania, but we won't look at that one right now. Second day was the one I'd really been looking forward to. Uh-oh, that's going to be a problem. Does anybody else have dropsy with this stuff? I keep leaving flotsam and jetsam all over the house from kitting these things up. Day 2 was me starting on the shores of Hawk Run Hollow. And I had everything kitted up. I had collected as many of the flosses as I could. Some of these are DMC, some are Anchor. Made my working copies. Found the fabric I wanted. That was another one that took 3 purchases before I got the one I wanted. And gleefully took it out on May 2nd to get started on it finally. The story, the reason I'm so excited about the shores of Hawk Run Hollow is that I visited in Cape Cod last fall the Whydah Pirate Museum and learned the story of the Whydah and its captain Sam Bellamy. I had got the story all confused. Sam Bellamy was from England, not from Cape Cod, and he signed up to be a sailor and ended up, to make his living, ended up commandeering a slave ship and making it into a pirate ship because he had fallen in love. He had, as a fisherman, I believe a fisherman, had gone to Cape Cod to fish, had met a young woman, a yellow-haired woman there, had fallen in love with her. Her father would not consider letting them be together because Bellamy was just a poor fisherman. And so he took off on an expedition and ended up commandeering, he signed on a slave ship, and he ended up commandeering the slave ship and turning it into a pirate ship, and was attacking the Spanish Armada, the ships of the Spanish Armada, which were essentially stealing gold from Native Americans in Mexico, Central America, South America, and trekking it over the ocean, which made Spain the wealthiest country in the world at that time. And they built the Armada. They built this fleet of ships to be able to continue to do that and protect themselves as they did it. Bellamy got a letter of marque. And when you get a letter of marque and reprisal, you are a legal pirate. You are under the protection of a government. And so he proceeded to rob the ships under this letter of marque, and later in the voyage, in that first year, the letter of marque was rescinded. So he became a pirate at that point. Loaded that ship, got, I think it was a total of 5 ships in his little armada of pirate ships, and they headed for Cape Cod. And when they were 500 feet off the coast of Cape Cod, they were hit by a hurricane, and the Widow essentially flipped over. A man named, I don't have the book in front of me, Bradley Cooper, I think, found the treasure, and now it belongs to him, and he has used part of his proceeds to put together one of the best museums I've ever seen anywhere. It's just a little thing, but it is so perfectly presented, so perfectly done. I'm going to get back there again, just to Cape Cod. I wasn't all that impressed with Cape Cod. The food was good and the hotel was nice, but what really would bring me back to Cape Cod was the Widow Museum. I would like to spend more time there. When I saw this chart, I saw the story of Sam Bellamy and the Widow, and that's how I'm going to interpret it. This piece here, I'm going to change the wording to be Sam Bellamy, who goes down and dies goes down with his ship in 1717. So this is going to be for him, and I'm going to change this. The area where they're excavating the Widow and bringing up the treasure has great white sharks. So I'm going to take these 2 little fishies out up here and put a shark up here. And then everything else, to me, I might change the color of the octopus. Where is it? Can you see it? The octopus in this one, I may change it to a different color. But that's it, other than making it for Sam Bellamy and a few things. Like, I don't like the face on the sun. I'm not even going to have a face on the sun. But it's just a marvelous chart. The size of it has kind of taken me by surprise now that I'm into it. But I know that I'm really going to enjoy doing this. And again, this was me saying I'd never do a big sampler. This is a sampler, right? Carriage House samplings. This is the big one that I'm going to do. It is on my stand. This is the one that's going to live here, and I'm going to work on it continually. And the very first thing that happened, I decided with this one that I wanted to do all the borders first on these boxes. Make sure I had counted right, get them all in, and then I could just relax and start filling them with the artwork. On these pictures, to me, one of the things that I liked, this is covering me up completely, isn't it? One of the things that I liked in these pictures was they're dark brown, but they're soft. They look almost furry to me. And to me, that says a variegated thread. So I was in shock when I pulled the pattern and said, okay, I'm ready to go. I found my center, I found my starting point. I'm going to start with this big one in the middle and do all of them else around it in the same thread from there. And the called for color in DMC on this, first of all, the colors are needlepoint silk. And my L&S didn't cover those, and I wasn't interested in completely doing this all in brand new flosses. So I did the DMC Conversions. The called for color for those box borders is 310 black. I said, those are soft. They're dark brown, but they're soft. They're not that in-your-face thick 310 black. So I went through my floss stash and found a brown that I really liked, and this one is called Swamp Water. It's a Weeks. And so I actually have this box. This box is done all the way up to here and back in. And I had to move it over because it's going to be so big. It doesn't fit stitch-wise. As far as stitching on it, it doesn't fit in this space in an 11 by 11. So I'm really happy about that I was able to make that substitution, and thrilled with the way it looks already. I'm going to enjoy this so much. It's a fabulous design. But I only have one drop of Swamp Water. It's just one of those colors. I said, ooh, that's really neat. I'll get one of those. And I got one, and it's not going to be enough to do all of the borders. So I'm just going to do the one box. I think there's enough here to finish this box, and then keep working in this box until my L&S opens. I have an email into them, but they don't answer email very religiously. Actually, it's a Facebook message to say, we're going into phase 2 here. A little needle workshop certainly is as safe as a toy store or a music store. And so are you going to have a phase 2 plan? And can I, I have a list. I can email you my list and pick it up curbside if you're willing to do that. And I haven't heard back yet. But in the meantime, there's plenty to do. The Swamp Water will finish this box, and then I can continue on with the rest of it. And I started to tell you what my plan is for Mania. I'm going to start each day's design and work on it for 30 minutes until I finish out a piece of floss, if that makes sense. So I'll set a timer. I'm not wearing my watch right now, but it has a timer function on it. I'll set it for 30 minutes, and then whatever's left of that length of floss, I will finish out, and then set that one aside. That happens in the afternoon. I'll do that in the afternoon. And then I call my day shut at 7. I take my shower, I put my bedclothes on, and I get in my recliner in my happy room. I put on FlossTube or whatever I want to listen to. And I'll sit there from 7 to 9 or 10 and work on something. And I get to pick what it is. The first day, it was that little basket because I didn't have anything else that I wanted to work on. I finished Let Joy, and I'm not working on Firefly Fairies right now because I'm too distracted, as you'll see as we go through this report. I'm really too distracted to stay focused on something complex or even simple, apparently. And so I just get to pick. Do I want to continue? Do I want to work on Shores of Ocran Hollow, or do I want to continue on that day's Mania project? So that's the plan. So that was the second. The third, is this the third? Yes. The third was the humpbacks. All was well, the first and second. And the third. The third is the humpbacks. This is an Australian design firm, Australian designer. Where is my pretty picture, ladies? Here. So that's the humpbacks. And again, I haven't noted the fabric here. I have it written down because I still think I have the receipt. But this was one where I started it. I got started on it and then decided to continue to work on that in the evening until I had finished really enough. I think my half an hour got me this part right here. And I wanted more of that tucked away before I decided whether I wanted to continue on it or not. So that was the third. And it was May the 4th when things got wonky. First of all, I think I've shown all of the fabrics for these bags that I made, but it's wonderful. Don't think I've actually showed the bags. So after the first one, I did the Shores of Hawk Run Hollow, I remember that, and then I did this one for humpbacks. The bag process was taught by Helen D. It's really easy. They're really easy to do. They go fairly quickly if you have the materials. Of course, I'm starting to do these bags in a lockdown. I had 20 yards of Pellin stash between 2 different projects and used it all up. And I still have 6 bags to make to finish up Mania. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get it pretty soon. At any rate, this is my May the 4th bag. And of course, all of the Star Wars, there's a fight going on, and I guess I got that energy going on this one because I had to fight it. And you'll be able to see when I open it. So it's a kit. It's an Art of Disney kit. It comes with flosses. They are DMC flosses, and they've given me the numbers for them. Can you believe this, how long this is? Each one of this, you know, I cut them in half. This is the length I work with. So it's almost funny. And the way they've packaged them, they're not on a drop, so I can't really rebook them. I'm just gonna leave them like this. But I decided what I wanted to do. Here's the fabric. And I wasn't sure that was big enough. I wasn't sure they had sent me enough fabric to actually finish the piece. So I said, I'm gonna do the Star Wars across the bottom here. Here's the pattern, here's the picture. Oh, it's a dimensions dimensions kit for the Art of Walt Disney, the Art of Disney. So here's the one I got. And I decided to do the Star Wars and center it just to make sure that I had enough fabric to finish it. All right. So I center things by folding. And so I folded it like this. And I folded it like this. And I made a crease. And then I start going, when to get started, I folded it on the crease again. And there's my middle. And that's where I started my Star Wars. Except that that's not my crease. This is my crease. So my A ended up too far down on the fabric. And if I hold it up here right, you can actually see where it was. Maybe I had to get a piece of white something. See it? I'll have to see when I edit it. But when I hold it up with the light behind it, I can see it very clearly. The good news is the word wars is going to cover up most of that. I just have to remember to be sure that if I frame it, and I am planning to frame it for my family room, or for my eventual front room. I'll have to frame it on a piece of black fabric to make sure it doesn't show. So that's how I ended May the 4th, was with the A in the wrong place. And I just left it like that. Because I knew originally my Wild Salt Air was scheduled for Thursday of this week. And I knew the fabric, once I had talked to Stephanie, I knew the fabric wasn't going to come in by Thursday. And I said, you know, I'm not going to plug anything in that spot. I had another couple of empty spots later in the month. I said, I'm just going to move Wild Salt Air into one of those empty slots, leave that day open, and go to my mom's, and I will frog that when I'm at my mom's. I want to show you, I made needle minders for this. So this one, okay, well, this one has a funny story, so I'm going to take the time to do that. The launch bay at Disneyland is actually a Star Wars movie museum that changes out the props on a regular basis. And you can go in the facility, of course Disney never does anything halfway, in the facility you can get your picture taken with a character. The only one I ever go to is the Mighty Chewbacca. But the name of the facility, there's a gift store and the characters, Chewbacca, Rey for the Rebellion, and Darth Vader or Kylo Ren are your options. And I just always go if Chewbacca's there. So I cut the pin off the back, and I got the adhesive that everybody uses to make needle minders, and I bought some magnets, and I made a bunch of needle minders all in one day. And I put the adhesive on it, and I put the magnet on it, and I laid them all out up like this for them to cure. When I went back 12 hours later to check on them, I had put this one too close to another one, and the magnets slid toward each other on the pins. And then I couldn't get them out. Couldn't get them undone. So I have two pins where the magnet is way down on the end like this. It still works. It still works in my, still works on my piece. And then I also have this. I bought this at Disneyland the last time I was there. It's a little mint container. It had peppermints in it. And I just tried using this as a needle minder, and you know what? It worked. I got a couple of magnets for this and attached it to my piece. So I could put a needle on this, and I even, if I got bigger magnets, I think it would work better. But I can, but I have 3 of them here. I could put this on, so it's a little box, and with enough magnets, that will stay on as well. So I could technically keep needles and stuff in that. Can you see? I'm having fun with this. This is such a blast. Okay. Now I can't get the magnets apart. All right. So yeah, Launch Bay brings back lots of happy memories. The last time I had my picture taken with Chewbacca, he noticed that my hair, you know, one of the things I love about recording myself is that the gray doesn't all show up in my hair like it does out in the sunlight. But Chewbacca's hair is a combination of brown and gray. And he started, when I was with him to get my picture taken and the cast members over there getting the cameras ready, he was talking, and he was doing this with my hair. And the cast members said, "Oh, he's noticing that you have the same hair." And I looked down and I looked at him, and I turned to him and I said, "My brother." And he wheeled me in and put his forehead right here. And we had that forehead thing. If you saw which of the last three is it? Is it the first one, The Force Awakens, when he... No, it's the Han Solo. It's the movie Solo, where he first meets Chewbacca, and then they team up and they go to the mine, and all of the Wookiees have been enslaved there, and Chewbacca finds someone that he knows there, and that's how they greet each other, is by putting their foreheads together. I gotta tell you, that was one of the most moving things I've ever experienced. I knew that there's just a tall person in that costume. And I will tell you, if you ever do it, you will swear you're with Chewbacca. He talks in that Kashyyyk. He speaks like that. But I don't know, it really got me. It really moved me that he would do that for me in that photo opportunity. So that was May 4th. As far as Mania went, a bit of a wash, because now I was going to have to undo the mistake and redo it. On the 5th, Walt Disney's birthday is December 5th. So I decided to pull out, and here's my May the 5th bag. I decided to pull out this kit that I've had a long time. So it must be another Dimensions kit. Let me see. For the Art of Walt Disney. No, this is a Stoney Creek. This is a Stoney Creek kit. How about that? So this is an adaptation. I think I've told this story before. I love the work of Norman Rockwell. Norman Rockwell did a piece of himself from the back, looking in a mirror and painting himself. And it was one of my favorite Norman Rockwell pieces. When Walt Disney died, Rockwell did this one as a kind of a farewell honoring Walt Disney piece. And I love this piece of art, and I have it in a little figurine, and I have it on a pin. And so when I saw this kit available, I had to have it. And so this was my May the 5th in honor of Walt Disney's birthday on December 5th. And what I'm doing with this, let me see if I can find, no, I can't show you the chart. I'll just show you on here. These things here, his, the Disney sketch here, and then the little sketches that are on these papers kind of stuck to the easel, are iron-on transfers. And I will admit to being kind of anxious about doing those transfers. So what I decided to do, and again, it's a kit, so everything came with it, was stitch the first thing I did was stitch the easel for this. So once the easel is done, I will do the iron-on transfers. And then if I get those on right, I can go on and finish the stitching. If I screw it up, all I'm out is the time spent doing the easel. And it's just white 14 Aida. I can go get that. I have it already in my stash. I can just start it over again. Although I might not be able to restore the transfer. But I'm not gonna try to invite trouble here. I'm just gonna do it that way just in case there's an issue. So my day one was this little piece of the easel. And I can tell already I'm going to love working this because I love charts with lots of shading in them. I like for the final piece to have all that variation in color and all that shading. This little bit here, that's maybe 3 inches. I don't think it's even 3 inches. I think it's more like 2 1/4. Has 6 shades of gray in it already. So I got that far. With all of these, I've continued to work in the evening on that day's project. This one I just stopped here because when I went back and read the directions, they say to wash the fabric before you try those iron-on transfers. So I stopped, ran this through the washing machine, ironed it out. I wanted to look at something here. it had a couple of stains in it. I'm going to take advantage of doing this and just hold it up to the camera and see if when I look at it on camera I can see any stains. Because if it has stains on it, I've had this kit for a long time. I hadn't opened it, so there shouldn't be anything in there, but I did use water and then some Best Press to try to get the wrinkles out after I washed it, so I was worried that something might have stained. Oh, here is my needle minder for this. Also made, this is from a magnet that I bought at Disneyland last time I was there. I ended up buying duplicate pins of several different designs actually. But there you go. To all who come to this happy place, welcome. So that's my needle minder for this one. Can I share you a secret? I don't like needle minders. I keep losing the needles on needle minders. I have some that I've bought from Etsy stores because everybody has them and they're so darn cute. And something's not right with the ones I've bought. They don't actually hold the needle. When I go to put it into the bag and store it, keep it clean and all, the needles, I'm losing needles. What I'm doing is using a grime guard, running the needle with its thread, with its floss through the grime guard, and then putting the needle onto the needle minder to have it not just disappear on me completely. Okay, so that's that one. Then that had a little bit of a stall. I had another issue, so on Thursday, last week on Thursday, I was working on the piece that I do at my mom's. It's the Plum Creek's Plum Street. I don't have it with me. The one that I'm making from Needle Keeps into a sampler. It has a whale on it. And I started the mermaid part and got the lettering almost all done and realized that I had done the lettering all with 2 strands, but I did everything else because it's an 11 floss. I had done everything else with 3. So on Thursday this year, that empty space that I left, I ended up frogging the the A from Star Wars and restitching that, and then frogging the letters that I had put in with only 2 pieces of floss in the one I was working at my mom's. So Thursday was frog day. Yeah, the 7th was Thursday. So I also did the piece. I guess I had replaced Wild Salt Air with this Noble stuff. I have found 2 patterns for the Noble Lighthouse. When I went to Massachusetts, both times that I went, my friend that I visit took us both to Ogunquit, Maine. She lives in Massachusetts, but she's very close to the New Hampshire border. And that strip of New Hampshire is like a 15-minute drive up into Maine. And so we went to Perkins Cove in Ogunquit, Maine, and that first year just had the most wonderful time. And I think the reason it was so fabulous was that she booked us onto a cruise of the shoreline on a tourist boat to go up to what's called the Noble Lighthouse. It has a different name. Does she have it on here? No, everybody just calls it the Noble. There is a history in here. Hold on a second. Cape Nettic Lighthouse is its official name, but it's on that little island off the coast that they frequently build lighthouses on. That little piece of ground is called a nubble. And so this one is called the Noble Lighthouse. This chart is done by SP Inks from Rhode Island, and she has an extensive collection of beautiful charts of different lighthouses all up and down the East Coast. And I think she's even done a few of the, well, I don't know, maybe they're just East Coast. I was so excited when I found that, because that day, those hours that my friend and I spent in Perkins Cove were a highlight of the trip. We went on that tour, we did a little bit of gift shopping, souvenir shopping, and then had the most incredible lobster lunch I've ever had. And I just swore then, I live in Southern California, but if we get Maine lobster, it's been shipped and it ain't the same creature at all. So I just swore I'd never eat lobster anywhere but in Maine. When we went this year, we got to there the day after all the pounds had closed. So the lobster we did get a lobster roll at a restaurant just to say that we did, but it was clearly frozen lobster, so it wasn't that good. So here's what I accomplished yesterday, last night, on the Noble Light. This version of it. I have a second version of it, and keeping them in the same thing. This is a by the bay version. And it's the same lighthouse, but they're very different adaptations, or very different portraits of it. So I'm excited to do both of them. Although I will say this is the one that really captures the feeling of that day to me. It was just bright and sunny and gorgeous, and oh, I loved it. I'm doing my homework right now. There's a big hotel on the little harbor where you can get a room that looks down on that lobster. They're mostly lobster fishermen and tour boats in their little harbor. It's a magical little harbor, and I'm kind of looking into see if I can go up there and just go into the airport maybe and get a car to take me to Maine and spend a few days there, and then ask my friend to come up and we can do lunch and we can do our day there. But I will have done, I never get in enough sightseeing. We always have to go when her kids are in school. So it's kind of a shortened, and we always have to go to York. We always have to go to Stonewall. The Stonewall, you know, the sauces and preserves and all of that. Their headquarters are in York, Maine, and they have a huge showroom, and oh my gosh, it's just wonderful, just wonderful. By the Bay, by the way, is in York, Maine. I wish she still had her shop. So that was it for week one. A few little hiccups along the way, but for the most part, I loved having a schedule. I loved having all of the stuff together to work on. I loved just being able to say, day is done, up and start my day the next day. And I loved it. I loved having this stuff all packaged up and ready to go. So I hope you had as much fun. I'm still shopping, unfortunately. I realized that picture, this plus, I went in and looked on 123Stitch, and they had one of the 3 fabrics I tried to, that I still have on order from them. They're just not here yet. 123Stitch had it in stock, so I ordered it, but it's not going to be here by next week, I'm sure, so that I can do next week's, do my Mother's Day project. I was supposed to do this one project on Sunday, and I don't have the fabric for it, but it's okay. It's all good. I'm on team stay isolated. I have too many vulnerable people in my family. I have people with autoimmune diseases, and my mother's 88 and she has congestive heart failure. My sister and my brother have asthma, and so we've already decided that we are going to stay holed up as much as we can for at least a month after California decides that we're going into phase 2 now, and I will do things like contact my L&S and see if they can do a curbside pickup for me. But we're not in any hurry. And my mom, the light of my mother's life is to go to Disneyland, and she told me yesterday she's not even thinking about it for this summer. We're sure they're going to open it it's going to be a different kind of park than we're used to, but we know they're going to open it. They're losing $30 million a day, Disney is. They can't afford to keep doing that. They probably can't afford this. California had what did the governor say this last week? A $28 trillion surplus, or $30 trillion surplus. It's gone now because of coronavirus. Yeah, economically, I know that we can't afford to stay locked down. So it's really now, as the states go through their phases to try to keep everybody as safe as possible while still bringing this economy grinding back to a start again. Those of us who have people to protect are just going to have to stay, self-isolate in order to keep them safe. I'm the person in my family, because I am so freaking healthy. I taught middle school for 25 years. I've got the immune system of a rock. I mean, everything bounces off of me. Knock on wood. I'm the one that goes to the store. My sister goes to the store once every 2 weeks. Other than that, she goes to work. She's they laid off 200 people. There are 3 of them left in the office. And she was one of the ones they kept, and she's grateful for that because she needs the paycheck. But she's the person who has to accept all the deliveries, all the mail. And so she's nervous. As an asthmatic, she's nervous that someone is going to come in to deliver something with that virus. So I try to support my favorite restaurants by doing most of my grocery shopping through restaurant pickup, curbside pickup, and Trader Joe's. I show up with my mask and get in the line. Trader Joe's is nailing this thing. They are the best prepared and the best regulated of all the stores that I've gone to. Costco's a close second right now. I feel very safe in both stores, but you don't linger. You get in, you get your stuff, you get out. Where else have I gone lately? Trader Joe, to my chiropractor. I go to my chiropractor. I go to Trader Joe's on that day. I did go to the dealership because my car was dead, as I told you, and everybody was wearing a mask, and we were all maintaining good social distance. And then, what else have I done? That's it. The 2 restaurants, the chiropractor, the 2 restaurants. Oh, a nursery. There's a nursery. All of our nurseries stayed open as essential services. And so there's a nursery out in the wilderness of a neighboring town. Usually when I go there, there's the owner and 1 other person at the most. Today, oh my gosh, there were 3 other people, but we stayed on opposite sides of the nursery. So I was able to get the plants that I need to get into the ground now, so that I can keep moving on. Yeah. So keep yourself as safe as you need to be, and remember that this virus can incubate for up to 2 weeks, and you are contagious during that period. So those of us with fragile loved ones, I missed my grandson's 2nd birthday on the 6th. Stayed home and sang him happy birthday over Messenger, video call on Messenger, because they're still not going out. They're not going to take a chance with that darling baby. So, I would implore you to please think of people like me and my family when you decide that you want to go out and play, because we can wear our masks, but if there aren't 2 people, there's still, if just the person wearing the mask is COVID free, and the person they're talking to doesn't have a mask and they're COVID positive, still a 75% chance that the person with the mask will catch the disease. The only way it gets down to 1.5% is if we're both wearing masks. So I would beg you to keep that in mind as you start opening up and heading out. So, new week starts today, and I'll be back next Friday with another report. This one went on longer than I thought, probably because I wanted to do a regular FlossTube report with it, and mostly because I like to talk. I don't have anybody else to talk to here. So have a great week, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye.